Hi everybody, I'm Jackie Forte, President of the North Syracuse Education Foundation.
And I'm Carolyn Gross. I'm the Secretary of the North Syracuse Education Foundation.
And we're here today to talk to you about the education grants. For those of you who might not know about the North Syracuse Education Foundation, also sometimes called the NSEF, not the NSEA, which would be the teachers union, we are a group of all volunteers comprised of community members, some retired teachers, and some students in our community who work to enhance education for the students in the North Syracuse Central School District. And we do this through several different opportunities that we have that we'll talk to you about today, but we're primarily here to focus on the education grants, which is what we would like each and every one of you to apply for this year if you have something that you'd like to do. Our organization was founded in 2001. Our primary way of supporting our education grants is through our fundraisers. Our biggest event each year is our November Gala, which this year will be celebrating its 10th anniversary. We also do some fundraising through things like the students this year are doing a pizza fundraiser. We also have done book fairs and a lot of different little community fundraisers along the way. And we also maintain an endowment with the Syracuse Community Foundation that has a little over $100,000 in it that allows us to accrue interest that we can put back into our grants each year. The education grants that we do give out are available for all the schools in the district from Main Street at pre-K all the way through CNS at grade 12. So every one of you, no matter what subject area you teach, are eligible to apply for a grant. Whether you're in phys ed, whether you're in art, whether you're in music, whether you're in social studies, English, or math, the Education Foundation looks at all of these programs as equal in their importance. So please don't think that you shouldn't apply for a grant because your particular subject area wouldn't be given a priority.
Since 2003, we've given over 108 grants with a little over $94,000. Since 2014, we've contributed to clubs and activities. Our activities last year was Summer Robotics Camp. We give to the Builders Club at the junior high for their community projects. We have done small projects at the elementary school if a class had to go to the VA hospital to sing. And so those are small. And we also have a larger initiative that we're doing. We have some clubs that were cut from the budget that we are now funding at a $1 from us, and they do $2 from them. And then they raise that money to be able to fund their club or activity, such as Science Olympiad and Math League. This year's grants are due February 1st, 2017. We don't place a cap on the amount of the grant, but typically they're usually between about $500 and $1,500. Keep in mind, we only have so much money to give out. But our largest grant last year was $3,000, and that was for super grant. And we really wanted to fund that because it was, and I think they're really doing well with it this year. And because I've heard from the teacher who received that grant.
Make sure that when you think of the concept for your grant that you make it directly related to student learning. We aren't just going to go out and purchase equipment for you, but if you need a particular item or a piece of equipment to do a particular lesson or set of lessons, or it would enrich your normal classroom curriculum in some way, we would definitely be open to whatever it is that you're looking to purchase. Your grant should definitely be measurable. You're going to have a form that Carolyn's going to talk about in a little while. It's very clear as to what we want to see on your grant application. And one of the things we want to see is what is it, just like a typical lesson plan that when we all went to teachers college, what is it that you expect to see? How are you going to know if you saw it? And how are you going to go back and test, like, did you actually get the result that you thought you were going to get? So we want to see that listed in your grant. We'll see what grade level. The grants are completely blinded, so we won't know which teacher in particular put the grant application in when we see it on our scoring board. But we will see the grade level, we'll see the department, and obviously everything that you have on there. Grants that are durable can be used one year to the next year, score higher than those that are consumable, meaning they're going to be a one and done kind of scenario. But don't be afraid to put those in either, because there are some really great programs that people have done, one-time workshops or materials that we've thought have been well worth it. The big thing people sometimes ask us too is, can I apply for more than one grant? And the answer is yes. Typically, out of the 700 and plus educators we have in our community here in the North Syracuse School District, we get about 25 grant applications a year. And from those, we try to fund as many as we can. So we have had years where one teacher will get multiple grants. So feel free to apply more than once if you have a great concept. The other thing that you want to make sure you do when you're filling out your grant application is do not include sales tax. We are a tax-exempt organization, and the North Syracuse Central School District is a tax-exempt organization. So you should not be including tax in your budget. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do is, if you're working on something that you're going to order through the district, you might want to check with Dave Kassouf over at the DO to see if he can get you any pricing. You're also able to go on to Amazon or any other source that you want to get for your pricing. But know that when your grant is approved, you'll be approved for that exact amount. So if pricing changes and the items go on sale, we'll purchase the items that you were requested, and they'll just cost some little bit less money. We'll keep that money in our funding. If the items go above the pricing that you originally had, then that money, we won't be able to get the full amount of what you have on your grant, unfortunately. So the other thing we want to make sure that you do is just double check all the items that you've ordered and that your budget equals to exactly what you've asked for in your grant.
All right, now to apply, you're going to go to www.nsefweb.org. On that website, you're going to go to grants, and you'll find two forms. One is the grant application. This grant application has to be filled in, signed, and if you have something that is technology, you should have Don Keegan sign off on that so that we know that that particular technology your building will support whatever you're trying to do with your grant. And that's very important because we don't know. And it's important that we hear from him if you need to. Your principal also has to sign this. So hopefully he has read your grant, and he also has said it will be okay. It's whatever you're doing. The second form, this form, the application is sent to Val DeFlorio's office at the DO because you have to sign it and your principal has to sign it. And we don't have a way to do that electronically. The next form you're going to see is a grant narrative, and this is also on that website. And this has to be filled out. It's in paragraph form, and it tells you exactly what to do. Your budget is at the bottom. This is sent electronically to grants@nsefweb.org. So you have those two forms to fill out. I think, in addition, if you look at your narrative and there's anything you feel that would enhance your grant to us, make it better, then go ahead. But try to follow this outline because people on the board, some are non-educators and they just get confused. So you just have to do it that way, and then we're much better off.
Yeah, if you want to include additional research, if you want to include pictures of something in particular that might look a little unusual or we might not know exactly what that is, please feel free to do that. And if you have any questions as you're going through the process in writing your grant, please reach out to us. You can email president@nsefweb.org and put your questions out there and we can get those answered. So in terms of common errors or issues that people have when they apply for a grant that might make it so that you don't receive your grant, those most common issue or error would be in your budget. When you read the grant at the top, everything is scored based on points, and that's kind of where we start our discussion. And then we go through and we talk about each grant application very, very specifically. It's a board meeting that takes a really long time, but we want to make sure that we're giving every grant its due. So make sure that all the items in your budget and all the items written in your grant match up and that the dollar values are the same. Because if they're not, that grant gets put to the side and it's no longer evaluated. The other thing that sometimes comes up, and I can give an example, is when a teacher comes up with a new concept that maybe there's research out there saying that a particular classroom environment is more conducive to learning, or a particular piece of equipment might bring in multiple sensory responses within a child to help them learn better. The board sometimes feels like if they were to purchase an entire classroom of, let's say, for example, standing desks or those rolling yoga ball chairs, that those, if that particular concept does not go well, we have a whole classroom full of these that maybe won't be utilized in the way that we had hoped. So sometimes if you have a grant like that, it's good to do a trial. For example, I'm going to get enough for half of my students to try this out and see how it works. If it goes well, great. The next year you can put in for the remainder, or we could talk to the district even if we see a really great response from these, and the district will then start to build that into their budget going forward. So think about that type of thing in terms of if you're trying something brand new, you've got the research behind it, we love that, but some of the board members feel more comfortable if we do a trial amount versus outfitting the whole room. We already talked about the durable versus the consumable. And again, if you have any questions, to just reach out to us and ask, because we're here to help. And we definitely want to give out all the grant money that we can. So that you understand, every year we typically start out with a budget, and we approve the grants from the one that is highest scoring and most desirable by the board, and we just keep going until we run out of money. So you know, when you do submit your grant, you will receive an email from us telling us that we did receive your grant application. If you do not hear from us by, let's say, February 3rd, you should reach out to us at president@nsefweb.org and tell us, I submitted an application and we have not heard anything back that it was received.
Don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait until the end, because
Yeah,
you have to do it then.
Yeah, we've had people who've come to us like the following year and say, oh, I never got any feedback. So you'll all get feedback when you turn in your grant application initially to say we've received it. After the grants are evaluated, typically sometime in the March timeframe, you'll receive another email and a letter from us telling us whether or not your grant was approved. If your grant was approved, even though you're applying now for the 2017-18 school year, you can purchase your materials immediately because we have the funding and we will have it ready to go. If you did not receive a grant this year, you'll receive a letter telling you that as well, and we'll give you a little bit of feedback as to why your grant was not approved. And it could be, something to do with your budget, something that was missing in the grant application, like it didn't really say how you were going to evaluate your grant possibly, or it could just possibly be that we didn't have enough money. So you'll get that as well. Anyone who does get a grant application approved will be asked to come to a school board meeting, typically in April, where we'll present the grant winners to the school board, and you'll receive a certificate from the foundation as well. So I think that's...
And also, the following year, after you get your grant, in June, we would like the feedback come back to us. So we will know how it went with pictures, or we've had PowerPoint presentations, and then we use that to tell anyone who says, I gave you money, well, how did it go? How are you spending it? And we have that proof right there for them.
Yeah, as a public charity, we are a 501c3. All the donations that are received by the North Syracuse Education Foundation are tax deductible according to the law. So it is important that we can tell our donors exactly what we're doing with the money that they do give us, and that we have a record of that. And by the way, if you'd like to designate the North Syracuse Education Foundation as your United Way source, we could be your charity for your United Way contributions. And also, if you ever order on Amazon, we're listed under Amazon Smile. And without even donating, you can go through Amazon Smile, and a portion of what you purchase on Amazon will come back to the Education Foundation.
It doesn't cost you. It just comes from Amazon, which is a nice, easy fundraiser.
So thank you so much for your time today. If you know any students in grades 8 or higher who'd like to get involved in the Education Foundation, please push them our way. If you know of anybody in your community or any of the teachers who might want to get involved in the foundation, please reach out, because we can always use the extra help.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just wanted to add that no animals were harmed in the making of this video.
So if you hear barking in the background, they're okay.
They're all okay. Thanks.